Hello, this is Tony Heller from RealClimateScience.com, taking a look at what happens when government policy is based on superstition and junk science. In my video yesterday, I did a comparison between mask mandates in Montana and no mask mandates in Wyoming. On July 15th, the governor of Montana issued a mask mandate for the state. That's the sort of thing which happens when states elect Democrats. Here in Wyoming, we're just to the south of Montana and we haven't had any mask mandates, but that may be about to change. There's been an increase in cases here in Cheyenne, Wyoming, and the county public health officer wants to issue a mask mandate. He said there's really no debate about this in the serious medical and scientific literature. Masks protect both the person wearing the mask and people around that individual. His claim is the exact opposite of reality. All the serious studies show that masks don't work, including this May study from the Center for Disease Control. And when you buy the mask, it says right on the box it will not provide any protection against COVID-19. Medical masks aren't very effective for protecting against COVID-19, and cloth masks are even less effective. So now let's look at what Wyoming can expect to happen if they issue a mask mandate. This chart shows the number of daily new cases in Montana in red and Wyoming in blue. Montana has a mask mandate and they're seeing a lot more cases than Wyoming is. The spike in cases in masked Montana has been much sharper than the increase in cases in unmasked Wyoming. So based on this comparison with our neighbor to the north, there's no reason to believe that a mask mandate in Wyoming would reduce the number of cases. If the Wyoming government attempts this superstition-based approach to controlling a virus, it will fail. And once government starts down the path of superstition and each new approach they take fails, they're just going to get crazier and crazier and more tyrannical over time. Another favorite superstition which is being spread is that the Sturgis motorcycle rally, which occurred in South Dakota during August, may have spread coronavirus across the upper Midwest. I marked on this chart when Sturgis occurred. You can see there was a long delay between when Sturgis happened and when these cases started to rise. Cases started to rise in the middle of September in both Montana and Wyoming. And in fact, in almost every other state in the country, there's been a large increase in cases since the middle of September. So why is the Washington Post and the rest of the press trying to blame the Sturgis motorcycle rally in South Dakota? Well, that's a pretty easy question to answer. The South Dakota governor, Kristi Noem, refused to lock the state down and refused to violate the rights of her citizens. The last thing which globalists want is for people to know that tyranny isn't necessary, and South Dakota was making that point. Reality is that the number of cases has been increasing since the middle of September all over the northern hemisphere. This is largely because they're using fake PCR tests to measure the spread of the virus. PCR tests are far too sensitive and they don't tell you anything about whether the person is actually sick or if they're contagious. And the other reason why cases have been increasing in the northern hemisphere since the middle of September is because the amount of sunlight being received is reduced. Sunlight kills coronaviruses, and as the sun gets lower in the sky and days get shorter, there's less sunlight around to kill the virus. They've had mask mandates over most of Europe since the middle of summer, and the masks are doing nothing to stop the spread of the virus. I wonder if the Washington Post also believes that the Sturgis motorcycle rally in South Dakota spread the virus into the United Kingdom and the rest of Europe. Viruses are going to do what viruses are going to do, and the fact is that the virus is going to continue to spread until most of the population has developed immunity. The one country which understood this since the beginning of the epidemic was Sweden. They never locked down, they never mandated masks, they never closed their borders, they never closed their under-16 schools, and they never closed their restaurants and bars. They understood the importance of allowing the virus to spread through the low-risk community during the summer when the virus is less dangerous. As a result of Sweden using an intelligent science-based policy, they've had one of the lowest death rates in the world since the middle of August. Meanwhile, back in the United States, government which didn't use a science-based approach is getting crazier and crazier. I've been planning to see my father in New Mexico since late March. We were supposed to have a family gathering there in the middle of November, but their governor has once again introduced even crazier rules than she had before. Governor Wuhan Lujan now has a mandatory 2-week quarantine for anyone coming into the state. The reality is that cases are spiking in New Mexico despite the fact that she implemented a mask mandate 6 months ago, just like they are in many other places around the country. There's no evidence that mask mandates or border closures are effective. Sweden never did either of those, and they now have one of the lowest daily death rates in the world. New Mexico is banning people from New York, and New York is banning people from New Mexico. The only way they're ever going to get rid of viruses entirely is to get rid of the people who host them. And ultimately, that seems to be where government is headed with their junk science and superstition-based approach to COVID-19. They don't understand that viruses exist for a reason and that ultimately the viruses are going to spread through the community one way or another sooner or later. You can't fool Mother Nature by putting a rag over your face like the New Mexico governor does. C.S. Lewis said, "When the whole world is running towards a cliff, he who's running the opposite direction appears to have lost his mind." There's a lot of people running towards the cliff now. Fortunately, Toto and Kyrie are not two of them. Toto and Kyrie understand the importance of actual observation-based science. You can visit Toto and Kyrie on the web at realclimatescience.com.